Welcome to Pell's Fundamentals. We have more videos just like this one on our YouTube channel. And as always, the sources for today's news are all linked below.
All right, so let's jump right into today's news report.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. We'll start with international news, then we'll move on to local Faroe Islands news.
Okay.
And we'll wrap up with the weather. How does that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Starting with international news, China has announced new tariffs.
Oh, really? On what?
On American goods, yeah.
Yeah.
A 15% tariff on American coal and other goods.
Interesting. And when do these tariffs go into effect?
They'll be effective February 10th.
Okay. And I guess this comes after the U.S. put tariffs on Chinese goods, right?
Exactly. Earlier this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of U.S. tariffs, though, I heard they actually delayed some tariffs that they had planned for Mexico and Canada.
Yeah, that's right. It's a 30-day delay.
Okay. And what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, Canada has promised to send 10,000 troops to the U.S. border.
Wow. That many.
Yeah. And Mexico has made a similar pledge.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And what are they hoping to achieve with this?
Well, the goal is to try and curb drug smuggling and illegal immigration.
Makes sense. All right. Well, moving on. It looks like Norway has a new finance minister.
They do. Former NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is taking on the role.
Huh. Wow. That's a pretty big change. What happened to the previous finance minister?
So the previous finance minister was from the Center Party, and they resigned.
Oh, wow. Why did they resign?
There were some disagreements within the ruling coalition over EU energy policy.
Interesting. Okay, so what's next for Stoltenberg? Will he stay on as finance minister indefinitely?
No, actually, he plans to return to his post as head of the Munich Security Conference once his term as finance minister is over.
Wow. He's got a pretty impressive resume, huh?
Yeah, definitely. He's actually twice served as Prime Minister of Norway.
Wow. And led the Labour Party too, right?
Yep, that's right. And just to add to all that, Norway is also getting 8 new ministers in total.
Oh, wow. Okay, big changes happening over there in Norway. Turning back to the U.S., though, it seems they've ordered the deportation of over 1.4 million non-U.S. citizens.
Yeah, that's right. Over 1.4 million.
Wow. And what's the reason behind this?
It's part of a crackdown on illegal immigration by the new Trump administration.
Okay. And are there any specific groups being targeted?
Well, 45 Danish citizens are among those ordered to be deported.
Wow. So how are they actually carrying out these deportations?
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, has been raiding homes and workplaces to detain immigrants without proper documentation.
I see. And how many people have been detained so far?
Over 7,400 in the past 9 days.
Wow. All right, well, let's shift gears now and move on to some local Faroe Islands news. It looks like a court case involving 5 boys accused of breaking and entering, and vandalism at the Glazer building in Tórshavn didn't conclude yesterday.
It didn't, no.
Okay. And remind me, when did this incident actually happen?
It happened back in April 2022.
Okay. And why didn't the case conclude?
Well, one of the boys had a legitimate absence.
Okay. Makes sense. Moving on, it looks like the Faroes Business Development Fund is getting a capital injection.
Yeah, that's right.
And who's providing this injection?
It's coming from the government.
Okay. And what's the specific name for the Faroes Business Development Fund?
It's called Framtac.
Framtac, okay. And how much money are we talking about here?
38 million DKK of the fund's existing loan from the government will be converted into equity.
Okay. And what's the purpose of this capital injection?
It's intended to support small businesses.
Okay, great. It also looks like a Danish company is buying a majority stake in a Faroes construction company.
Yep, that's right.
Which companies are we talking about?
So the Danish company is Per Arslev Holding, and they're buying 90% of shares in Articon, the Faroes construction company.
Okay. So is this a done deal?
Not quite yet. It's still pending approval by the Faroes Competition Authority.
Okay. And is there a timeline for that approval?
The deadline for comment on this deal is February 10th.
All right. We'll have to see what happens then. Turning to the economic outlook for the Faroe Islands, it seems like there's some differing opinions out there.
Yeah, there are.
Okay. And who's optimistic and who's not?
Well, the service sector is feeling pretty good about the economic outlook.
Okay. And on the other hand?
The construction industry is a little less optimistic.
Interesting. All right. Lastly, it looks like we have a new survey from Statistics Faroe Islands about household finances.
We do.
And what did this survey find?
Well, it found that 28% of households in the Faroe Islands are just making ends meet.
And how does that compare to previous years?
It's actually up from 23% 3 years ago.
Okay, so things are getting a little tighter for some households. And what about the rest of the households?
55% are saving something, 5% are saving a lot, and 8% are using savings.
Okay, so a mixed bag there. Well, to wrap up our local news, we have some exciting news from Faroes football. Atlee Gregerson has been named Player of the Year.
He has, yeah.
And remind me, who does he play for?
Gregerson is a veteran player for Vikingur.
Right, of course.
Yeah,
And this award was for his performance in 2024, right?
exactly. In Faroes top flight football.
All right, so that's it for our news roundup. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for the coming days.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So low pressure systems are moving north between Iceland and Greenland.
Uh-oh. Does it mean bad weather for us?
Yeah, it's bringing continued low pressure troughs to the Faroe Islands over the coming days.
Okay. And what can we expect today and tomorrow?
Unstable air with sleet is expected, with fresh to strong winds from the southeast.
All right. And how about later in the week?
On Wednesday evening and night, the wind will pick up. It'll increase to gale force from the southeast.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we'll see cloudy skies with occasional sleet, and temperatures will rise to 5 to 9 degrees Celsius.
All right, so a little warmer, but not exactly pleasant with all that wind and sleet.
Mhm.
How about Thursday?
Yeah, Thursday is looking pretty windy too, actually. Strong winds, potentially near gale force again from the southeast and south.
Oh, man. Okay.
And it'll stay overcast with possible sleet, but temperatures will be a bit milder, ranging from 6 to 10 degrees Celsius.
Okay. So still pretty rough weather. Hopefully Friday will be a bit calmer.
Friday's looking a little better. Yeah, it'll be a bit calmer with fresh to strong southerly winds, variable cloud cover, and it should be mostly dry.
Okay. Well, that's good news at least. And what about temperatures for Friday?
Temperatures will be 5 to 9 degrees Celsius.
All right. So what's the weekend looking like? Will we finally get a break from all this wind and rain?
Well, Saturday starts off okay. Fresh to strong southerly winds and partly cloudy skies remaining mostly dry.
Okay.
But as the day goes on, the wind will increase to fresh to gale force from the south and southeast.
Oh, no. So much for a break from the wind.
Yeah, and it'll become overcast with rain developing.
Man. So a wet and windy Saturday afternoon and evening then.
Pretty much, yeah. But by evening, the wind will shift to the west and decrease to light to fresh with partly cloudy skies, and it should start clearing up.
Okay. And what about temperatures?
Temperatures will be 5 to 9 degrees Celsius during the day, dropping to 3 to 7 degrees overnight.
So a little chilly in the evening.
And Sunday.
Sunday we'll have light westerly winds becoming southerly later on, overcast skies, and generally dry weather.
Okay, so a dry but cloudy end to the weekend.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Temperatures will range from 3 to 8 degrees Celsius.
All right. Well, that's it for our weather forecast. Looks like it's going to be a pretty windy week ahead, unfortunately. But hey, at least we'll get a bit of sunshine on Friday and Sunday. Thanks for that comprehensive weather update.
No problem.
That concludes our Faroe Islands news report for today. Thank you for joining us for this overview of what's happening around the world and in your own backyard.
The sources for all the stories we covered are linked below.
Be sure to subscribe to our Pulse Fundamentals YouTube channel for more videos like this.